Eastern Province is one of the most rural and poorest provinces in Zambia, with a majority of its population considered vulnerable. This is largely because most communities in the province heavily depend on unsustainable forest-based activities. To address this challenge, government is developing a comprehensive and integrated system that comprises measurement, reporting, and verification of support to emissions mitigation, research, and finance. McPherson Mkuka traveled to Eastern Province to understand how the Zambia Integrated Forest Landscape Project ZIFL is being implemented. I'm your host, Masauso Mukwayaya. Stay tuned.
Zambia has over 49 million hectares of forest, translating to about 66% of the total landmass. The country is considered as one of the most forested countries in Southern Africa. Ironically, Zambia is ranked number 1 in Africa and number 5 in the world on the Deforestation Index, making it one of the most deforested countries in the world. Recent statistics indicate that approximately 170,000 hectares of forest cover is lost per year. Factors leading to deforestation and forest degradation in Zambia are human activities such as agricultural expansion, unsustainable timber extraction, and infrastructure development. Dependence on charcoal and firewood is also among the top activities taking a toll on forests, especially for rural communities whose livelihood is reliant on forests. Other factors that contribute to the problem include inadequate support for land use planning, poor agricultural and forest resources management practices. Furthermore, untapped alternative livelihood options and poor market access for marketable commodities and cash crops also make the list of factors destroying the forest. This is the case in most rural communities in Eastern Province. Partly because of the above highlighted reasons, the province, with a population of about 2 million people, is considered among the 3 poorest provinces in Zambia. This is said to be due to the province's rural communities' dependence on forest-based activities, which have put the forests under threat. Some members of the community in the province shared their views on the matter.
Kuononga kwa mitengo kulina vuto zoona.
Deforestation has brought problems. Everything is visible now. Climate keeps changing. The rain season is either delayed or destructive when it rains because of deforestation. Streams have dried up because of soil erosion that has blocked water flow.
Misinje umu yezoenda ivalika chifukwa chakuti mitengo tezojuwa chisawawa as a result dotingo kokoloka kwendo vala manje ma streams.
Due to excessive forest degradation resulting from charcoal production and poor farming methods, the biophysical environment in the affected areas has relatively become fragile, ultimately degrading the land. These factors have caused severe impact on rural families, worsening levels of poverty in the areas that are largely dependent on subsistence farming.
It has been difficult getting anything from the farms due to poor farming methods and deforestation. Worse, getting farming inputs was a challenge due to lack of finances.
In order to address the challenges facing most rural communities in Eastern Province, government has developed an integrated system. This comprises measurement, reporting, and verification of support on emissions, mitigation, research, and finance. The Zambia Integrated Forest Landscape Project, ZIFL, is aimed at improving rural livelihoods by reducing deforestation and forest degradation using a low-emission pathway through local community participation by 2030. The project is being funded by the World Bank to a tune of $32.8 million United States dollars.
Our aim is to reduce activities in the forest, especially those destructive activities where forest is lost. This group here, Cholinga, they looked into our objectives and they thought, well, we are mostly participating in charcoal burning, but we need an alternative livelihood. So when they heard about the sub-grant component of our work, They thought that fish farming would be very helpful. First of all, it's very close to Chipata, so demand is there, the market is there for fish. They thought that this can provide them an alternative livelihood as opposed to charcoal burning or cutting of wood from the forest.
The project is being implemented by various government departments, among them the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA.
We advise the project implementers, for example, these project groups, they actually apply. So through the ZIFL project, they're able to apply for the environmental impact assessment process. And once they submit, we're able to give the legal guidance. So for example, when they want to implement a project which is likely to have an impact on the environment, they will go through the process called the Environmental Impact Assessment Project, and we're able to respond in accordance with the Environmental Management Act. So we're able to give them a response later, and in an instance where they do not necessarily have to do a full impact assessment, we're able to give them a response later, but then we attach conditions that they have to abide by throughout the project and post the project.
3 community groups in Chipangali, Kasenengwa and Sinda districts have benefited from the project. In Chipangali district, Cholinga Farmers Club was given a grant of over 1 million kwacha to embark on projects with a bias towards protecting the environment that will positively impact the livelihoods of members of the community.
We have done maponds, we have done the wire fence, we have done the office there, as well as the storage house. We've got water, we have done 2 boreholes, and we have started gardening kuja pangono, and we even stocked fish mapondi mwatumu. So far, we stocked 11,000 nsomba umu, which was on the 22 December 2021. And this time we are heading towards harvest. Most likely we are harvesting sometime in June.
Mr. Banda explains that the ZIFL project is changing people's lives because of the many benefits the club members and the community will accrue from the 2 projects in fish farming and gardening.
We are making money, which will elevate our living standard. In the next 2 years, I think Cholinga Farmers Group will be somewhere.
As our club's name entails, this is a learning phase for every member. At the end, each one of us will take this lesson back home and make use of what we have learned and turn this into business, thereby alleviating poverty. Dina Ngulube and Evelyn Mwanza are part of the 32 members of the Cholinga Club. The duo is confident that their lives will change for the better as a result of the venture the club has embarked on.
We are working together to ensure we all benefit. This means a lot for every member going forward because we will all benefit from the project. We will not lack in finances because we have already started seeing the fruits. We are currently learning fish farming, which will help reduce poverty at home. This garden will benefit me and my family. I will be able to get food from here, and the sale of fish will also help us as members both for food and finances.
By curbing unsustainable agriculture expansion and enhancing the benefits derived from forestry, agriculture and wildlife, the program further aims to achieve significant emission reductions and reduce the community's vulnerability to the impacts of climate change. The Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA, Department of Climate Change and Natural Resources, is monitoring the project's compliance levels.
Compliance level has been quite good. because they have actually followed the correct procedure, and the project is not implemented until they get a response from ZEMA. So compliance level is quite good. And by ZEMA being one of the implementing partners, we're able to ensure that they conform to what is required of them, yes, in terms of environmental management as well as compliance levels.
According to a 2015 study conducted by the United Nations Programme on Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation, the economic value of Zambia's forest ecosystems is estimated to provide at least 1.4 million jobs. This is in supporting 60% of rural Zambian households. In Kasenengwa district, the rural community is creating jobs from the forest after learning of the importance of preserving natural resources. The community has formed Malambarada Forest Management with the main purpose of protecting the forest while benefiting from it.
We learned that tampering with nature is the same as killing ourselves, because we are told that the air we breathe comes from the trees and we do the same for the trees. So we chose to protect the environment so that we preserve our lives and that of future generations and to reduce the impact of climate change.
After learning about the importance of forest preservation, the community members joined hands and drew up a proposal and submitted to ZIFL project team for possible financing. The project, which is about beekeeping, received an overwhelming response and was granted over 800,000 kwacha.
Tinapachikako mingoma yokwana 700.
We have so far hanged 700 hives and 400 are occupied. From the funds, the community managed to get nearly everything we need to use in our forest.
And the Provincial Forest Office is happy with the achievement scored so far by the community leadership in the protection of the forest. With staffing levels being a challenge in the department, Mr. Muyunda believes the team has scored, as there will be no need of sending a forestry officer to this area.
It doesn't need now a forestry officer to travel all the way more than 60 kilometers from Chipata to come and manage this forest. On their own, they are able to come up with bylaws. So, meaning we have a forestry department within the community. And as we have already heard and seen, they are not only now looking at a tree from the charcoal point of view, they are looking at a tree from many other benefits.
Mr. Muyunda believes that with such progress, the department is assured of a sustainable approach in dealing with forest products.
From the 700 hives which are already hung here, 400 of them are already occupied. How much money is this community going to make? It's quite significant, a significant amount of money which they are going to make, and which will impact into improvement of their livelihood. And when they have money, then we are saying there will be less pressure on the forest resources to do with cutting a tree for charcoal. And that's why we said that yes, we still have some people who are cutting trees for charcoal, but with this intervention, we are now seeing that slowly people are able to come up with some other interventions to assist themselves.
Improving rural livelihood systems under the ZIFL project is greatly contributing to rural poverty alleviation, thereby reducing overdependence on forest resources by rural communities. This is because the project is providing sustainable and alternative means of survival for the rural communities, such as these women in Sinda.
Upon receiving the grant, we embarked on production of cooking oil. We bought over 1,000 bags of groundnuts and sunflower, and from that we made a profit of 150,000 kwacha. There are also other things we have been able to do from this project, such as providing logistical support to the members.
Titengako ndithu tumaphindu tumatransport tipasana azimayi tikabwera kuma meeting tichita benefit okay.
After being funded a grant amounting to 3 million kwacha, the Sinda District Women Development Association moved from investment initiatives such as village banking to production of cooking oil, peanut butter and chicken feed. The benefits this has brought are immense.
Ndalama zija zamene zili ku banki.
For the money that is in the bank, we use part of it to buy raw materials such as sunflower, seed and groundnuts. But of importance is our plan to buy a utility vehicle which we will be using to transport various materials, raw and finished products.
Komanso tilina chiganizo chakuti tiguleko transport motoka tilibe tichito booking tikagula sunflower minzi no booking a motoko ukatenga hivyo matifuna tigule motoka yatu.
What is more impressive about these three projects is how visionary and committed the members are in doing away with tree cutting and focusing on growing the projects beyond their current stage. Cholinga Farmers Club is looking at saturating the local market with its fish once harvesting starts.
Nsomba ni chintu chofunikira kwambiri kuthupi ya muntu. It gives a lot of proteins. Meaning our children kuno will not be malnourished. Vazankala batanzi ise amene futi. I think our bodies will be nice. Will be looking smooth as well as strong. Yati tingakwanise kwenda kusebenza ntchito ina ili yonse. Market ya nsomba, our target area first is the local community to benefit. Then tonnage ikatikulira, that's when we can go outside our box. Meaning we will go to Kasenengwa, we will take the nsomba ukukulundazi area, even in town.
For Malambarada, other than hanging 700 beehives, out of which 400 are already occupied by bees, the Malambarada Community Forest Management Group is looking beyond honey production. The team is already thinking of getting into carbon trading from the amount of trees it has managed to preserve on this over 400 hectares of forest.
We have seen that things have now started moving as planned. And what we are looking forward to doing from this forest is to start carbon trading for the trees we have preserved.
Over the years, the government, working with stakeholders, has introduced a number of policies and legislation intended to address one or more aspects of natural resource management. Some of the more effective measures in terms of Zambia forest resource management have been the formulation of the National Policy on Environment, which promotes holistic and sound environmental management. The Provincial Forest Office is providing technical support to the community for a possible market for its non-timber forest products.
They are not in a vacuum. Whatever they are going to harvest, we have a company where they are, which is ready to actually buy their produce. So our role today is to make sure that their bylaws, which they have come up for them, which they have formed for themselves, those bylaws are actually being implemented. Conflicts which are within the group, they have some programs of managing those conflicts. They only approach us only when they see that perhaps there is a big problem to do with technical issues.
For the women of Sinda, their target is to expand the business and have incorporated tree planting and outreach programs to educate the public on the dangers of deforestation.
We have a program of planting trees after undergoing training with the Ministry of Agriculture. We know the importance of trees and how lack of them affects our environment. So we go around communities sensitizing the members on the importance of trees to the environment.
So ndi saa modzi timayendamo midzi kuphunzitsa kuti osajuwa mitengo mukajuwa vula sikugwa bwino tiwaphunzitsa muzambiri.
Evidently, the project is slowly changing lives while helping preserve the forests. The Zambia Integrated Forest Landscape Project implementing team is happy with the transformation the 3 sub-projects have scored so far.
If you see around Eastern Province, and part of my passion really around the work that I do is because I see people that are really struggling with their daily sustenance. And when you give them that hope through activities like this, and you see their attitude changing because they are thinking big and they are planning big, then for me there already is an impact because the mind has transformed. And when the mind is transformed, it means from this point, everyone who has participated in this project, they are not going to start planning small. You know, let me order a bunch of bananas, sell them and make nothing out of it, which most of our communities do in these settings. So transformation, I think, is one of the impacts I can talk about.
Being part of the implementing agencies, ZEMA is cognizant of the environmental benefits the projects will have if beneficiaries abide by the regulations.
We are assured that they are conserving and protecting the environment as well as preventing pollution. But when we look at it from the angle of climate change, we are able to see that when we're talking about forest conservation or forest regeneration project, we are assured to say we are conserving the forest and as well as we are increasing the sources as the sinks as well, and then we're also reducing on emissions. So with regards to climate change, we are assured that we're able to reduce on emissions, and by the end of the project, we will be able to estimate the emissions that will be reduced from this project.
Financing a community project is one thing, and sustaining its operations is another. But ZIFL project manager Tasila Banda is positive that the 3 communities in Chipangali, Kasenengwa and Sinda will deliver according to the promises enshrined in their respective project proposals.
At the stage where we are as a project, it's difficult to tell how each one of those is going to work out. But we depend on the promises made in the application. And also we depend on the promises made at the district level. Because remember, this is not a NGO, it's a government project, which means that our implementation structure is within the existing institutions of government. So the district multi-sector team is key to ensure that these communities continue to develop their district. They have an obligation to ensure that development happens in their district. So they are the primary responsible parties to ensuring long-term sustainability.
True to this, the communities have so far shown willingness to doing their projects in environmentally sustainable manner. We were among those that cleared the forest for charcoal. If you look at the hills, you will notice most trees have been cut down. But that was not sustainable because even taking the bags of charcoal to town was hard. However, this has changed our way of living, and there is no need to cut down trees anymore.
We are pretty sure we are there to protect the environment now.
The success of the Zambia Integrated Forest Landscape Project in Eastern Province is dependent on how it will resolve the current happenings in the forest mismanagement. If well executed and perhaps replicated in other needy areas, the fears of losing an estimated 10 million hectares of forest cover in the next 30 years will no longer be a nerve-wracking thought among environmental scientists. This is because the World Bank-funded project would have addressed concerns around improving the livelihoods of the rural communities, which are the major actors of deforestation.
That is all we could package for you on this week's presentation of News in Depth. We were looking at the Zambia Integrated Forest Landscape Project, ZIFL, and how it is improving rural livelihoods by reducing deforestation and forest degradation using low-emission pathway through local community participation. Do join us next week at the very same time for yet another interesting presentation of News in Depth. I've been your host, Masaoso Mukwayaya. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time. Pleasant viewing.